Frank Sinatra's 1969 massive hit single My Way was handcrafted for him by none other than Paul Anka. Anka wrote the lyrics to the tune of a 1967 French song, Comme d'habitude, written and composed by Claude Francois and Jacques Revaux, which he had bought the rights to. This spelled doom for David Bowie, who had in 1968 written the lyrics Even a Fool Learns to Love, which he had set to the music of the very same French song. Even a Fool Learns to Love would never see an official release, but the release of My Way would pave the way for one of Bowie's biggest hits. The liner notes of Bowie's fourth studio album, Hunky Dory, slyly mentioned that this particular song was, quote, inspired by Frankie. Although the album was released in 1971, the song would not go on to become a hit until 1973, when it was finally released as a single. It hit number 3 on the UK charts and remained on the charts for 13 weeks. Featuring piano work by Yes keyboardist Rick Wakeman and string arrangements by Bowie mainstay Mick Ronson, the song resonated with listeners despite of, or perhaps because of, the eccentric cut-up style lyrics written and sang by Bowie himself. The single would return to the UK charts 30 years later thanks to a hit UK TV series named after the song. The immense popularity of the TV series led to it receiving both a US and South Korean adaptation of the same name, as well as a UK spin-off series, Ashes to Ashes, fittingly named after another Bowie song. Critical acclaim for this single has not stopped since its release, with Pitchfork naming it the best song of the 1970s. That's right, this week on Cover Bowie, we're talking David Bowie's Life on Mars.
It's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair, but her mommy is yelling no, and her dad...
That's right. It's Cover Me, the only podcast that talks about famous songs and their many cover versions and compares them against one another to find out which one is the freakiest show. I'm your host, as always, Jake Cressy, asking you to focus on my best-selling co-host.
Alex Mildenberger, for sale, I guess.
For sale. You're selling out. You're like Mariah Carey at Christmas time. People can't get
Hey.
enough of you. What's going on, Alex?
Oh, just coming back for this is my last day not working.
Oh, right. Big break for you.
Going back to work after a couple weeks off. I mean, no, it's 2021 and has been for a while.
That's right.
Whoops.
You guys have figured out the truth. We record episodes a week in advance. Something we have been very open about.
We
since
do
probably
this
the
live.
first time we did it. Yeah, you're hearing this all live on air.
This is all live.
We're very skilled broadcasters.
Right.
As you can tell by all this dead air. Alex.
Yeah.
How do you feel going back to 2 weeks? I have had 3 days off here. I'm already dreading going back to work and I'm incapable of doing my job. How do you feel?
I've just forgotten everything. I gotta relearn it all again. So it's
right. So you're starting fresh. Like
yeah, I
gotta
start fresh.
You don't even remember your degree that you used to get the job.
I mean, in theory, like, they call it an electrical engineering degree, but I don't know that much about electrical engineering because it's technically a computer engineering degree. So, like, I'm working on this circuit project. I'm trying to build this theremin, and there's like a thing that's wrong with it, and I don't even know how to approach it. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know how to solve this problem. I know it's wrong, but I don't know what's wrong. Anyway. That's my bigger problem here. Work is like, problem, whatever, Alex. I can do that. At least reasonably.
It's all bleeps and bloops, Alex. You got it.
Yeah, it's just typing.
You know what you're doing.
Just typing. I can type.
It's basically a secretary job. It's fine. Alex, we're talking about a huge David Bowie one today. Sometimes I casually pick a song because I'm like, yeah, it's popular. And then you look into it and you're like, yeah, this is one of the big ones. Like, this is like one of the... It's a big one. It's a big song. Big deal. Life on Mars, Alex.
Yes, it's one that I, like you, forget how big a deal it is, especially in terms of like early Bowie and sort of stretching into now, because it was one that I knew the name of and had heard the name of repeatedly before actually listening to it. Like it took a while between those two. Its reputation preceded it, I guess is how we say that.
I'm trying to think of if I ever actually heard it before getting the album Hunky Dory in high school.
I'm not sure.
It's tough to say for sure.
I maybe did. It seems to me, at least like our classic rock radio doesn't play this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just because classic rock radio is technically just hits radio, but not modern hits radio.
Right.
So I don't know how that happened, but yeah, it's a big deal. Like you said, it's considered like one of the kind of all-time greats, at least by many people, perhaps just by Bowie fans. But we are Bowie fans, so
yeah, through and through.
We're in that group.
I saw a list of it was like an album, I think, that like a compilation, I guess you'd call it, that Bowie put together some odd years ago. That was like a collection of his favorite Bowie songs. And yeah, this one was obviously on there. Some more controversial ones on there. He had Loving the Alien on there, which I tend to agree with him on. Yeah, it's an album called I Select. You can find it on Spotify. It was released in 2008. So yeah, Life on Mars is the number one track. He's got the Bewley Brothers on there, which is a phenomenal track as well. Teenage Wildlife. So you get like a good mix.
I don't actually know Some Are.
Neither do I. That one is like, because I don't think that one ever actually saw an album.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've missed out on some singles, that's for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, this one is big. There's a lot of things that happen with Life on Mars here. It's again continuing the sort of theme of David Bowie and space that seems to run through a lot of his work.
Yeah, there's a lot, especially the early stuff where, not even just the early stuff, I guess. I mean, but anyway.
But it certainly sets the ground
with like
for that.
Ziggy Stardust and the sort of like sci-fi side of things. I guess Ziggy Stardust, like The Man Who Fell to Earth. He does have an album called Earthling.
That's right. He's got an album called Earthling. Loving the Alien was on Tonight, which is a strange album, but I mean, that one's sort of an outlier on that.
I guess like his first hit was also about space.
That's
Space
right, Space Oddity.
So, yeah, there's a lot of sci-fi in there. And this is like kind of, it's not really about or I guess it's not really about like a sci-fi story so much as it just addresses, like brings up sci-fi kind of.
Yeah, it's almost a more like wistful question of, is there life on Mars? But it sounds like we're getting into lyrics. Before we get into that, Alex, have you ever seen the TV series Life on Mars or any of its adaptations?
I watched the first episode of, I think, the American version.
Okay, yeah.
I don't remember which one it was exactly, but that's
so
you watched it, right? Because you told me.
I watched it on recommendation of our friend Ronald, who. I mean, I was smoking a lot of weed at the time, so memories get muddled up. I had assumed he had seen the show.
Oh.
But I guess he just told me to watch it.
Because he knew it existed.
Or had just mentioned because he knew it existed. And so I watched it because I was like, oh, yeah, I'll talk to Ronald about this. And then I saw him another time after I'd finished the show, and I was like, hey, you want to talk about the show? He's like, sure, tell me about it. I was like, wait, what? You've seen it, though? And he's like, no, I've never seen it in my life. And yeah, it's a fine series. This guy's he thinks he's in a coma and that things have gone wrong, and then it ends up that he's apparently a janitor on a spaceship. And he just like they have these like hallucination inducing machines to like kill time while you get to a destination.
So it's like holodeck, but it messes with your mind.
Yeah,
or like so that one game in Rick and Morty where he like lives that entire life.
Oh yeah, it's just the name of a guy. It's like Frank or something.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, yeah. So in the original, I think it's played out much more and is like, I don't even know if you ever reach a conclusion on what sort of weird dream space he's in. But in this one, it's like, well, yeah, it was a holodeck. It falls kind of flat there. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because I remember the first episode, like, he clearly gets in an accident and, like, travels back in time. And then you hear, like, the beeping and stuff at the end, so you're like, oh, he's in a coma. Obviously. Yeah. But I guess that was a misdirect?
Yeah, and it might have been one of those ones where they're like, oh, this isn't doing as good as the UK TV series. We're going to have to put a bow on it. And that's
put
how
a Bowie on it.
Hey! So that's my little anecdote
All
about the
right.
TV series. I want to watch the South Korean one, which I discovered exists in my research for this.
All right. Put that one on the list.
Put that one on the list. But yeah, Alex, let's talk about these fucking
Yeah,
lyrics.
let's talk.
Unless you got better things to do.
Nope. Just
Okay,
lyrics.
good.
I'm all about those lyrics.
Um, well, Alex, it famously opens with the line, "It's a god awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair." But her mummy is yelling no, and her daddy has told her to go. Let's talk about those four first.
Yeah,
What's going
I
on there?
mean, the story seems to be that the main character of the song doesn't
The girl with the
the
mousy
girl with
hair.
the mousy hair, um, is witnessing her parents fight,
Hmm.
and they're like telling her to get out of here and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, is it? Or, so is the fight unrelated to her? I thought they were. It was maybe something she had done.
it's possible. Doesn't seem to care about it much. Like or it doesn't seem like a big deal to her, but it started a big fight or something.
Yeah,
Whether
and
she's
so,
actually the subject of it. She's like the father seems to be telling her to like leave to
right,
get out. So
maybe
it's kind
to
of like
spare her the trouble of that.
yeah,
But
so
it could also be like a "you get the fuck out of here, you're not my kid anymore" kind of thing, right?
I suppose I don't know. The rest of it doesn't really address that.
No, somebody in Genius has noted that apparently David Bowie's own parents were sort of split on his career choice. His father encouraged him, while his mother was not in favor of it. So that might play some role in this. That's just like food for
Yeah,
thought,
there's a
though.
lot of
No
like
real way
little
to.
bits of things about what it could be if it's sort of autobiographical. Supposedly, um, the girl with the mousy hair could refer to Hermione Farthingale,
That's right.
um,
In on tour in
which was
1990.
his girlfriend in the early '70s for a while.
Yeah, and so then while he was on tour in 1990, when he introduced the song, presumably during a concert, he said, "You fall in love, you write a love song. This is a love song." So that's a little more evidence towards the Hermione theory.
Yeah, and it's a weird love song. I'll say that. Uh, if it is a love song, which I guess it is.
I suppose I might as well get all of Bowie's comments on it so we can just kind of work with them.
Yeah,
He
throw 'em
summed
out.
up the song at the time of the album's release in 1971. He said it's a sensitive young girl's reaction to the media, which he then expanded on in 1997 by adding, "I think she finds herself disappointed with reality, that although she's living in the doldrums of reality, she's being told that there's a far greater life somewhere, and she's bitterly disappointed that she doesn't have access to it."
Yeah, sort of this like existential ennui of just like feeling isolated from the things that you were maybe promised growing up or that you
And so maybe,
expected to
yeah,
happen.
she's isolating herself from what is maybe, and because we get a lot of this in the song, a repeating occurrence. So maybe the mummy yelling no and the daddy telling her to get out of here is like an everyday occurrence. Maybe she's not in a very happy home.
Doesn't seem to be. Doesn't seem to be.
And then we go away from the home
Hmm.
and we go on. She says, but her friend is nowhere to be seen. Now she walks through her sunken dream to the seat with the clearest view, and she's hooked to the silver screen.
So yeah, now she's watching movies. Seems to be sort of this escapist endeavor, trying to forget about her life.
Hmm. And typically, young people go to the movies with their friends. Her friend's nowhere to be seen. So there's
Yeah, I don't know if it specifically, or I wasn't sure if it meant like her friend just didn't show up, or she just doesn't have a friend. Like
yeah, it
she's
could be
just
either of those,
alone.
but I think the end point is the same. Yeah,
Yeah,
isolation and loneliness.
she's alone. Of course, then it kind of. I don't know if it's meaning to say this, but in my experience, the fewer people you go to a movie with, the more likely you are to be able to get a good seat because you don't need as many seats grouped together. So she
Right.
still gets the seat with the clearest view, possibly because she's alone.
Exactly, and it also might be an empty theater.
True. True.
Sunken Dream. That's it's sort of the idea of drowning. She's drowning in reality, I guess, but and it makes it feel dreamlike. There's also, it makes me think of the film Get Out, wherein there's the sunken place where you're sort of just somebody else has literally taken your body and you're just a witness in it from the inside.
News to me. But I still haven't seen Get Out, so I can't comment.
Ah, come on, Alex.
Hey,
Give it the times.
I watched Labyrinth again.
Well, I mean, priorities are in the right place, I guess. And she's hooked to the silver screen, so this brings up the idea of escapism, pretty much, right? She's getting away from her life problems at home. She goes to the theater, and she's got a connection with the silver screen.
Right. She's now being kind of absorbed by this movie, or the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Then we hit the pre-chorus, but the film is a saddening bore, for she's lived it 10 times or more. She could spit in the eyes of fools, as they ask her to focus on... ...
As we sort of transition into the chorus, but we'll get there.
We'll get there. Yeah, so this is... I think her escapism is such routine. And not only that, but I think this is, as we'll get into in the second verse, a critique of this just sort of consumerism, capitalism in general. Is that they're rolling out the same shit into every film. So she, like, even escapism, going to the movies has become a dull reality because they're all the same, these movies.
Right. But also that she's lived it. So sort of it's part of her life, so I guess she can relate to it, but she isn't looking to relate to the story, I guess. She's looking to forget about what her life is, but this is just kind of normal things that she's experienced.
Right, yeah, because when we get to the chorus, which I think is meant to depict what these films are showing, it's all very not good. It's all very violent, in fact. And so, yeah, she's lived that in that sense. Also in the sense of, like, just escapism in general. If you're looking to escape by living in a different world, you're living in the film you're watching. So she has fully experienced these films 10 times or more. Like, she's done it. She's put herself there.
Right. I was wondering if it was, and I don't think this is, but for a while I was playing with the idea that, like, when it says that she has... Hang on a second, I lost my train of thought.
No worries.
Now I'm panicking. Hold on a second.
Just breathe. You'll get through it.
Not like legitimate panicking. I'm just trying to get this idea back in my head. That the movies themselves are that the movies are too focused on recreating this idea of reality and not focused enough on trying to show you something new and interesting. Even if it is a science fiction story with aliens, it's actually just about people doing normal things.
Yeah, normal, horrible things.
Yeah.
Yeah, she could spit in the eyes of fools as they ask her to focus. Naturally, the fools are the filmmakers, right? The people suggesting that this is worth her time. So if she met these people, she would spit in their eyes because they've sold her a false bill of goods.
And she's upset.
Yes, because they ask her to focus on sailors fighting in the dance hall. Oh man, look at those cavemen go. It's the freakiest show. Take a look at the lawman beating up the wrong guy. Oh man, wonder if we'll ever know. He's in the best-selling show. Is there life on Mars?
Is there life on Mars? So yeah, it kind of creates, basically just mentions scenes from movies. It sounds like some of the comments in Genius seem to suggest that the sailors fighting in the dance hall is a specific reference to a movie that David Bowie was a extra in.
Yeah, the Virgin Soldiers in 1969.
So I watched the clip and I don't actually know which one is Bowie there.
Yeah,
I think he walks by at one point, but it's hard to tell because it's very blurry.
Right.
But so it's possible that all of these things are references to specific movies, but
I think
I
we
wouldn't know
we
which.
sort of slowly go from movies to reality with the lawman line.
Yeah, I
It's
guess.
interesting because that lawman interaction comes up again in 5 years, or at least something similar, where Bowie again talks about police brutality.
Okay.
I forget the exact line now, but it's isn't he beating up a black guy?
I'm trying to. I'm also blanking on the line.
A soldier with a broken arm faces a cop knelt. Oh no, a cop kneels and kisses the feet of a priest.
Hmm.
It's somebody else who beats somebody up. Oh no, a girl my age went off her head, hit some tiny children, then a black person pulls her off of them. All right, so I was off. I was completely off. But hey, he mentions cops at least, so you know what? Not fully off. Not the point, no, not what matters. First, we got to talk about the line, "Oh man, look at those cavemen go," which might reinforce the idea that he is referencing that movie, and that "Look at those cavemen go," or at least a similar version of it, "Look at that caveman go," is present in a line by the song's called like "Alley Oop" by the Hollywood Argyles.
Okay. Is it in the movie?
No, but
Okay.
they are called the Hollywood Argyles,
Yeah.
and
Oh, I guess so. I've just always. I mean, I'm sure there could be a reference, but I think it's fairly clear. I mean, to me, I've always just interpreted as he's referring to the sailors as cavemen because they're using violence to solve their problems.
100%, but it's also not beyond Bowie to reference
No.
other songs. So I
Definitely
think
not.
I think it is there exactly for the reason you're suggesting, but also and I
Also a
think this is
reference.
when he was using cut up style lyrics, right, where you would borrow phrases and stuff you saw in real life,
Right.
and then kind of insert them in. So yeah, I think it is both. It is both a reference to the Hollywood Argyles, and it perfectly encapsulates what these sailors are like, cavemen.
Right.
And then it's the freakiest show, which is it's bizarre. It's absurd that this is what we're watching in films, I suppose.
Yeah,
Then we
calling
come
something freaky though at like this point in Bowie's career is almost just kind of like a Bowieism, you know?
right.
Sort of. I mean, even what is it? Flight of the Conchords have their song they use. They said that's pretty freaky, Bowie,
Yeah, it's yeah,
just
they do.
to impersonate David Bowie. So
Yeah, so it may just be him, being like it is very show, like it's
quite show, yes, excellent.
take a look at the lawman beating up the wrong guy. I mean, yeah, that's a pretty dark. We gone from a sailor's brawl, which is violent, but perhaps not so dark in its
Right, it's just two guys
purpose.
fighting, which like not great, but also not so uncommon. Still violence.
It's a pretty level playing field. Every
Yeah.
sailor has the power to be drunk and also punch another guy.
Hmm.
Whereas we come to the lawman beating up the wrong guy, it's police brutality. It's pretty horrific. And then Bowie suggests, like, does he even know that like it's just a show? This isn't even reality in some sense.
Yeah, I've always wondered about this part if it's talking about like it's on the news, so it's the best-selling show, or if it's the subject of a movie and he's sort of blurring this reality versus fantasy line of like, does he ever know? Well, obviously it's an actor if it's a movie, but if it's the news, it's not anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think again, the blurred line between reality and this supposed escapism is so it's like is he talking about a lawman who is actually beating up a cop and it's on the or beating up the wrong guy and it's on the news, or is it just in the film? And then how is escapism to last if it's just reality repackaged?
Right, if you can't even tell the difference.
So the best selling show is reality because we keep repackaging it.
Dun, dun.
And then with that we come to what I think is the question, longing for true escapism or for something else than this life and this world. Is there life on Mars?
Is there life on Mars? Yeah.
Because otherwise it just sounds insane to talk about that, right? It's a completely non sequitur unless we view it as being like is there something more than this?
Yeah, and kind of I mean, keeping with the like fantasy slash reality question, it's like, why can't we ask more interesting questions in our, I guess, media?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why don't we go to Mars and think about what that might mean?
Yeah.
I know there was like an early interview with David Bowie. He's talking about how in school he wasn't good at a lot of things, but he would always write the best stories. So I guess he kind of has an opinion on that. Thinks most people can't write very good stories. And he
Mm-hmm.
clearly likes science fiction. We've already talked about that. So
Oh, yeah, that's very clear. Yeah, I think that's a good enough interpretation of the chorus, or at least a discussion of it. Let's talk about verse 2,
verse
where the
2.
references to things in modern culture get cranked up a lot more. It's on America's tortured brow that Mickey Mouse has grown up a cow. Let's just talk about that one, Alex.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, obviously we've got two animals in here. We've got a mouse and a cow. Now, when a mouse meets a cat, no, a cow. So I don't know if it would specifically be referring to like the cash cow idiom, I guess, but I think it's just
that
they're talking about like the idea that Mickey Mouse, who was kind of conceived as this creative endeavor by
mm-hmm.
probably Walt Disney. I don't know the exact history there. Um, but anyway,
Yeah,
and then
I
it's
used to know the
become
exact
this
history.
thing that's controlled by this corporation now.
Yeah, so there is the term cash cow originated around the year 1970.
So like right around this time.
Right around this time. So it's tough to say whether he's using it as cash cow or in the older sense like sacred cow.
Well, more like a
Um
biblical thing of like
yeah.
he's become this icon, and like what does that mean?
Well, yeah, this icon and this thing beyond judgment. It simply is good because it is Mickey Mouse, because it is the sacred cow,
Hmm.
which maybe I'm leaning towards that one more because that line seems to carry to modern day, where Disney fanatics are just like they're common. They're everywhere.
Right.
The
Yeah.
most basic
Disney's so
person, the
huge.
lowest common denominator. That person, I love Disney. I grew up on Disney. You know how the amount of people who, if you tell them you've never seen a Disney movie growing up, they will tell you you never had a childhood. That's insane.
Yeah. It's like I don't know, man. We watched The Prince of Egypt.
That's how you know you had a Christian childhood.
Like and Veggie Tales, okay?
Yeah.
Nah, we watched Shrek too. Anyway, Shrek is close to I think it's 20 years old now. That's pretty wild.
But yeah, I think in that Mickey Mouse has grown up a cow, whether it is a sacred cow or it is a cash cow, on America's tortured brow, they're pretty much the same thing. These twisted ideas of
Right.
capitalism, the American ideal, it turns into, and this pulls back to the films that are the same shit every time, is that they're just churning out this one thing, and you have to say like, yes, it's good because it's been deemed good.
Yeah, yeah. And it's sort of become enshrined and perhaps can't, like you said, sort of now immune to criticism and can't change in a positive way if it needs to, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just extrapolating now.
No, I think you are on the right track there. Now
On
the
the
workers have struck for
money.
fame
Yeah, sorry.
because Lennon's on sale again.
Yes, this is an interesting line. I've always found this line very interesting because
Mhm.
it's very ambiguous as to like which Lennon it's referring to.
Right.
Interestingly enough, he would, with John Lennon, write a song called "Fame" in a couple years, but that's unrelated.
Yeah.
But
And of course, John Lennon had basically just released the song "Working Class Hero."
true. So John Lennon's song "Working Class Hero" is like on the radio in the charts at this time. But also, he's clearly talking about like workers, which is kind of implying a reference to like working class and they're I guess they're striking. He says struck. It seems weird to say struck as a past tense for like a work strike, but anyway,
Mhm.
I'm sure it's fine. So then you think of like workers' rights and like communism and Vladimir Lenin.
Right.
And it sort of kind of works with both kind of. Of course, they're talking about fame, which then would imply like John Lennon. And also, like, they're striking because what, they want fame? That's not useful to them.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And I never even thought of it as strike, like a workers' strike.
Yeah.
I thought of it like when you strike out for he struck out to do great things, like they endeavor, like
I
a
see.
quest.
So they're trying to get this perhaps recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Saying fame is, I don't know.
Because Lennon's on sale. They bought this record. It says working class hero. And they're like, well, he was a working class guy. It's our turn to go get it. But it could also be Lennon, like Vladimir. Like you're right in that.
Right, because like Vladimir Lenin like wrote books and stuff. Right, I'm pretty
which,
sure.
It sings praises of the working class
so
and
like,
working man.
If that inspired the working class to do something,
yeah, it's just so it is. Yeah, they're almost inseparable, the two in this line, and I don't have the liner notes, or else I would maybe take a look at those and it could tell you if the lyrics are in there, which Lennon it is.
Yeah, I think I've always seen it as like Lennon as in John Lennon, but I do think there's some ambiguity there because, I mean, you say them, or we pronounce them the same.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, and the idea of communist ideals being on sale again is so sinister. Like,
kind of ironic.
And there is this idea
Communism
of just like people being kept in line by whatever's on sale. Oh, you guys are a little upset? Here's a John Lennon song about working class heroes.
Which, I mean, that's something that the John Lennon song does discuss as well. So it's kind of no escaping it,
Yeah, it's so it is like these first four lines are about sort of just this whole fucking verse.
Yeah.
Is about the mires of capitalism and how just awful it makes reality, really.
Yeah, I mean, afterwards, unless you had more to say about that line.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say where even men with good intentions, like I believe both John Lennon and Vladimir Lenin to some extent, can, and more so John Lennon, let's stick with that because Bowie was obviously a fan of John Lennon.
Right.
Where John Lennon's work can be warped and twisted to serve the capitalist agenda.
Yeah, pretty easily because it's the music industry, so it's all about sales and stuff.
And what somebody noted on that line is there is, of course, a Beatles album called Beatles for Sale.
True.
So then Lennon's on sale again. Could theoretically be playing into that. I think it might just be a coincidence. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I feel like you could still write that line without Beatles for Sale existing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. As somebody else, I think, noted that it's like maybe at the time he saw, again with the cut up, he saw an ad for John Lennon's latest work. It's like Lennon's on sale again.
Right.
Okay, boom.
And also like because the Working Class Hero single came out, it was on sale, and then the album came out with Working Class Hero on it several months later, so it's like it's on sale again.
Again, right. And yeah, and again that strikes that idea of how everything's just being recycled to you.
Yeah.
You've seen the film 10 times, it's the same shit. Yeah. Then we come to the next two lines here. See the mice in their million hordes from Ibiza to the Norfolk Broads.
Yeah, that one is hard to get listening to for me. I had to look up the lyrics.
Yeah, I know.
Definitely, like I've known that for a long time, but I looked up the lyrics like 5 years ago. Like
yeah. So Genius actually I think kind of nails this one. It's about mass tourism.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have got that. I guess these are popular tourist destinations for working class people in like South England.
Yeah, and they seem to
the island of Ibiza, which is off the Mediterranean coast of Spain, and then the Norfolk Broads, which is I think
like idyllic
England,
English countryside. So you have the tropical exotic, or you have the English countryside, and that's it. You go to one of two places when you're on vacation.
Yeah, and that's like
that's that.
Kind of, and then just like France is kind of between there. So it's like if you say one to the other, those are kind of the places you can go to. It's like just like that are close-ish. Also, he does say Ibiza.
That's right.
That way. Now I looked it up. That is one possible pronunciation, but apparently the Catalan pronunciation is just Ibiza, or at least they didn't use the I don't know it exactly because I don't know the International Phonetic Alphabet, but I know that the what's it called? Theta is a th sound, and it is not in the Catalan pronunciation. It's not important, but I just noticed that.
Very interesting, Alex.
Is it though?
It's semi-interesting. I was pulling up the lyrics that we need to sort of discuss these next two lines, which is rule Britannia is out of bounds.
Yeah.
To my mother, my dog, and clowns. For all of my life, I thought it was whom Britannia, and I don't fucking know why. It doesn't make any sense.
I think I've heard that too. I've heard it for whom Britannia or something like that.
Right, yeah.
So it's like, I don't know what that means because it's not the lyric. But Rule Britannia is like a rallying cry, kind of. It's like...
Yeah,
think of another example.
Rule Britannia.
Saying,
Britannia,
like,
rule the waves.
Rule
Britons
yeah, so
never,
it's like
never shall be slaves.
It's like a colonialist, like, rallying cry.
Yeah, it's very, very colonialist, where
yeah.
all other nations are referred to as tyrants who will fall to Britain. And it's all about ruling over things and being the best and
why,
never ever being slaves.
Not why necessarily, but how Britain is supposed to rule everyone, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, this doesn't mean anything to the working class, to regular people.
Yeah, to regular people, this is nonsense. And it suggests to me that maybe even these two mass tourist destinations are, like, out of touch for a lot of, like, working class people. My mother, my dog, and clowns. They can't fucking take advantage of this great British nationalism because
they're working class.
Yeah.
And not very wealthy.
Not very wealthy.
Also, I like how he brings up clowns. It's like regular people, like clowns.
Like clowns.
Although now David Bowie, of course, I always say of course, maybe this isn't obvious. Why would it be obvious? Has a long history of performance art. And
so he
did
like,
a lot of
work.
miming and stuff. And
yeah,
I don't know if he was a clown ever, but it's kind of adjacent to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds better than my mother, my dog, and mimes.
Also,
mimes are French, obviously. So
yeah, so obviously it's Rule Britannia's out of bounds to them.
One other note that is not probably meaningful, but maybe. So I have a couple years ago bought the sheet music for this song, and it has the lyrics in it, and it spells America with a K, which I thought was interesting. Which
that is interesting.
Kind of, to me, like, enforced the, like, USSR affiliation, but I don't know. I forgot to check the liner notes on the album.
Yeah.
To see what it says there.
Well, as always, our research skills are top notch.
Yeah, it's not that, like, I knew what to do. I just didn't do
I
it.
know, I just didn't fucking do it. I was like, oh yeah, I have that CD lying around. I was like, yeah.
It's in a box,
it's
though.
Fine.
I have to dig it out of the box.
Yeah, it might be in my car. I gotta way down to a fucking garage.
It's probably
for
raining.
Fuck that. Yeah, it's raining all the time here. I gotta put on a mask just to get outside. It's too much. Then we get the pre-chorus again, but there's a twist. Twist. The film is a saddening bore because I wrote it 10 times or more.
Now he's
It's about to be writ again. As I ask you to focus, and this is the question that Genius can't seem to agree on, and that one guy said one thing and another guy said another thing. Is this then a shift to the narrator, who before was telling us about this girl and is now telling us about himself, or have we for some reason shifted to being the girl who has grown and started writing garbage films?
I don't think it matters thematically. Like, the point is, there's a person. Now we've shifted to the perspective of someone who creates these samey films. And they're saying, yeah, I know, it's boring. I wrote it. Like, I write this, I've done it a million times. But I'm going to do it again because I kind of have to. Like, there's no alternative.
But I think that's exactly why it matters, the perspective.
I
and I believe it is the former, that this is the filmmaker who has written this film that the girl has viewed, because the one thing that the two characters, I mean, beyond the mother and father, but even them probably to some extent share, is their isolation and their disillusionment from reality. Where,
Okay.
yes, I hate writing this film. I've wrote it 10 times or more. I'm gonna fucking do it again, because that's what life is, apparently.
Yeah. So then I mean, I've never thought of it as being the same person.
No, nor have I. I think the dude in Genius who suggested that is stretching really, really hard.
Because, like, there's no other real indication of a perspective shift. In particular, like, the verses go from more personal to less personal.
Mm-hmm.
So going in the chorus from less personal to more personal doesn't really
Right.
make sense to me. I don't see the flow there.
Yeah, you're right. The scope is constantly widening. We're pulling out consistently. Yeah, that checks out. And also, just thinking, because this is the same album that has a song for Robert Zimmerman on it.
Right.
Doesn't Bob Dylan have a song called "Together Alone"?
Fuck, I don't know it.
Or something to that, because there is a line in that song about being together alone, and I that seems to be what this pre-chorus latches onto. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if David Bowie's pulling in ideas of isolation from other musicians that he liked.
See a song called "Together Alone" by a few people. There's a song called "Alone Together" by Fall Out Boy. I don't see anything by Bob Dylan, but I didn't search Bob Dylan. So.
Well, Alex.
Now I did. I don't see it, but.
We'd rather be scared together than alone is the line. Again, I'm
Oh, what's
dumb.
the song?
The song is a song for Bob Dylan.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, so I was looking at the line, because I assume most of the lines in that are references to
Bob Dylan's song.
To Bob Dylan's song. He says, "While troubles are rising, we'd rather be scared together than alone." So I'm just dumb. I never heard the "than." I thought he said "together alone."
Yeah, it kind of.
Oh, yeah, she comes.
It loses syllables in the middle there, kind of.
Yeah, you kind of lose it. Well, again, my bad. So nothing there. But again, isolation. I think the shared isolation is what's going on here.
Yeah. That
And the
kind
sort of
like,
powerlessness.
even though like they both share this perspective, they can't really do anything to help the other person.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter. The two people never come together. He's saying, "Please look at this movie," and they're saying like, I don't like the movie," or like, "I've seen this a million times." He says, "But just please look at it." Like,
yeah.
Like there's no solution really.
And so he calls it a love song. So is this strange, like, tattered love in which the only way these two can communicate their isolation is through this thing they both hate?
Or like, is this him and Hermione? I don't know.
Yeah,
He's the writer. He's talking about being a writer.
Mm-hmm.
Stories.
And asked her, the viewer, to focus on these same things again. It's and this is their only form. This is their only touch point. Is the things in the chorus, the films.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's always tough. I've never really approached it as a love song.
Nor have
just
I.
listening
So it's
to it, but now I've heard that quote, so that's how he wrote it, and that's interesting. But I don't really get that out of it. But I get that there is sort of this relation, or this related mindset between, I guess, the two characters of the song.
Yeah, and I don't think this necessarily has to be read strictly through the lens of a love song.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, similar to some art house films, it's kind of what you get from the lyrics that is what it is. I have a quote here from I should have wrote down the name. It is a music critic. He called this a gloriously strange sci-fi anthem. A stirring, yearning melody combines with vivid, poetic imagery to accomplish a trick very particular to the art of the song. To be at once completely impenetrable and yet resonant with personal meaning. You want to raise your voice and sing along, yet Bowie's abstract, cut-up lyrics force you to invest the song with something of yourself just to make sense of the experience, and then carries you away to a place resonant with intense, individual emotion.
Yeah, that's a good quote. I don't. Neil McCormick.
Yeah, that's Neil McCormick. That's exactly who did it.
I mean, I guess I agree, because like I kind of was into this song before even really knowing the lyrics.
Yeah, well, it's phenomenal instrumentation. It's beautifully sung, and yeah, the lyrics sound good. It's good word choices. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
And
But
so
also,
yeah,
yeah,
even when
weird.
we're getting insight from David Bowie on this, it's we have to kind of look at literary theory, where one form of it suggests that once the piece is released, the author's intention doesn't really matter.
Right.
So even if Bowie says it's a love song, like maybe it is to him, but that's not necessarily the true interpretation. Now, the literary theory I'm relying on there is called New Critical Theory, and it was ultimately debunked because it was like too up its own ass. It was like there's only one
Right.
interpretation of any piece of writing.
That
and
is
if-
valid.
Yeah, that is valid. And if it's outside, if you can come up with multiple interpretations, it's wrong. Like it needs to be one.
Right. But it is always very interesting to me. I mean, that's why we do this to think about
Yeah.
that kind of thing, and like what a song in our case was meant as versus how we take it.
Yeah,
what it
how
means
it's
to us.
received. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, and there was another quote somebody pulled up on Genius. Let me see if I can just find it here, where he talks about how Bowie quotes how he's always talking about isolation. Yeah, he says it's like finding a different door each time I approach the subject. And the interviewer says alienation, and Bowie says a lot of it is one's interior kind of isolation as well. It doesn't just mean one's social isolation. It can mean how you get in contact with your own feelings as well.
Yeah, and I think he's talked about like how, I mean, like that quote, like he's just covering the same topics again,
Mhm.
which is kind of also what happens in this song, but in a movie instead of a song.
Yeah.
Which is
And
kind of
yep.
why, like when I was saying before about how it's like about you can't really escape truly
Mhm.
because you always have to relate it back to something. So you have to have that sort of human connection.
Right. Even the
Because
most
how could you not?
fantastical
Yeah.
piece is rooted in our human experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, just thinking about it from the second pre-chorus where it shifts to the writer's perspective, Bowie himself was always, I think, very critical of even the music he was making, the genres he was in. After Diamond Dogs, he was like, I'm done with rock and roll, right? He's like, I'm done being a rock star.
Right.
See, there's nothing left in that for him. And then of course he released, didn't he do pinups after that?
Yeah, he did pinups real quick.
Yeah, I did
think
really quick. But then
afterwards.
he shifted with Young Americans, right?
Yeah.
And so he was like, I'm going to be a soul singer now. So he was very much always trying to be critical of his own work, I think, and change. So in that idea, him being the writer here, I think also makes sense because he's saying, yes, here I am inside the system of the people producing media for you. And I'm also sick of a lot of these things, but I keep doing it because I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, because like this is yeah.
This is
what
the
else?
system.
I mean, it ends with a question.
Yeah.
There's no answer. Just ask, is there life on Mars? Is there something else fantastical out there that is totally unimaginable to us in our current situation? Who knows?
Who knows? But yeah, I think that's it. So maybe his most poignant statement is the one where he mentions this being a young girl and her disillusionment with media, because that seems to be pretty foundational to this song. That seems to be the easiest
Yeah.
read of it.
That's kind of the story
Mm-hmm.
of the song.
But then, like Neil McCormick says, there's a lot you can draw from it, both from just the lyrics themselves and the music, that you can instill a lot of personal meaning in this.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this for 40 minutes.
Yeah, fucking A. That's the lyrics though, because after that we hit the chorus one more time. Like you said, it ends on "Is there life on Mars?" and then we're out. We get a little piano, a telephone rings. You move on with your life.
Yeah, you can hear they're just like ambient sounds in the studio for a bit.
Yeah. Now somebody said that was the studio telephone. Do you think it was intentional, or it just like rang off and they're like, "All right, fuck it, leave it in there"?
Yeah, I mean, I think more than likely it happened, and they were like, "Yeah, let's leave it in." That would be my guess.
Yeah, that was my thoughts as well.
Yeah.
Alex, let's get into the sweet music.
Sweet music. Yeah, I watched like a harmonic analysis of this song. Sounds like the harmonic, like the chords going on are pretty interesting. But like, there's a lot going on, so I can't get into that here.
Right.
So yeah, look it
Well,
up
it's
if
all
you're
just My
interested.
Way, so it's
Yeah,
fine.
I don't think it sounds that much like My Way.
I
there's
listened to them back to
harmony,
back, and it doesn't really connect.
but like definitely there's different ways you can approach, even if the harmony is the same. That like a chord progression, or whatever. So I think they sound quite different.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
The other big thing about this, I think, that I wanted to mention, because I don't know exactly where it would fit, is like the dynamics of the song are pretty, I'm going to say, significant. Like, it starts very low, and then by the time you get to the end of the chorus, like, he does his, like, octave jump or whatever on Mars, and then holds that for a while, and, like, then quiets way back down again.
Yeah,
next-
it's the first
next verse.
like Bowie example I can think of that almost voice crack. You get it on like Heroes too, where as the song progresses, he gets more ragged. But
Right.
yeah, on the delivery of
like
Life
5
on
years
Mars,
and stuff.
yeah, that's another classic Bowie trick, along with saying the word freaky.
Freaky. Yes. I mean, clearly there's a lot being like poured into that line. And then kind of just dropping right back down. I saw another interview with David Bowie where he's talking about Pixies and how much he liked like their dynamics of how they got very loud, very soft, very loud, kind of. And clearly he's showing something similar here. Similar idea.
Absolutely. And yes, we're talking about this a bit out of order, but after that,
right. I said I didn't know where this was gonna fit, but I think where it fits is when we talk about the chorus.
When we talk about the chorus, we're talking about it now though. So like right after that long delivery of Life on Mars, it's just about the only use of electric guitar in this.
Right. It gets a little sort of, I guess, solo or interlude or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it bridges us to the next verse, and it sort of takes us down gently. So we get that high energy. And then it kind of comes into like grab that high energy and slowly bring us back down.
Yeah, and it's got this very nice little run of like.
Which is, I mean, that's Mick Ronson on guitar, who also composed the string section for this.
Yeah, he did the string arrangement, which is pretty. He did a couple of those on this album. He had some like classical training, I think, when he was younger.
Yeah, I think that's right.
To do those string arrangements, which is pretty cool. Also pretty cool, as you mentioned way back in the intro, Rick Wakeman on piano, which I had forgotten or not made the connection that he is the guy from Yes.
Yeah.
So that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it was awesome. I assumed before looking this up that it was David Bowie playing piano. He plays quite a few instruments.
He wrote it.
Yeah.
On the piano, and he said he just like showed it to Rick Wakeman.
Yeah, and Rick threw in some embellishments and like kind of made it this very intricate.
Yeah, and it's got this like really interesting like smoothness to it. The piano part, and that's like if you're looking at the chorus, which is where we start, like that's really what it is. It starts with like a piano note, and then the lyrics come in pretty soon after, like on the second or the second half of the second note, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's kind of got that like solo piano feeling, at least at the beginning.
Yeah, it really does, and it's because it like it is very intricate. It's moving a lot, and it holds the space at the start, and really sets the tone for a lot of things. It's not until like 32 seconds into the song that we get the strings coming in to give us a little weight.
Yeah, and they start very low too.
Just
kind of doing that like low like harmonies, I guess. Probably roots of chords or whatever. And it's not until you get to the chorus, you kind of get a drum roll into the chorus, and then the strings play higher up and do some runs and stuff.
Yeah. Those runs are insane. They're very big. Like the chorus on this is huge, despite not even having that many more instruments than the verses. In fact, it's the same instruments.
Yeah. It's just they're playing higher and they're kind of like it's really filling it out, and like they're kind of doing these like sweeping string stuff. And I know I read at least one David Bowie quote about how good he thought the string arrangement was by Mick Ronson.
Yeah, I think I read that too, and he was like, Mick Ronson, what a guy.
What a guy. He was quite a guitar player.
He really was. Mick Ronson created one of his first and best string parts for the song, which has now become something of a fixture in my live shows. That's what Bowie said in 2008.
And like what else is going on in this? I mean, that's kind of it. Like you got the sort of 3 levels, and then it really does the big sweep up for the Life on Mars line, and then drops back down and sort of repeats. There's some flutes or something in the second.
A mellotron.
It's a mellotron. I should have known.
Yes.
It's Rick Wakeman. Of course, there's a mellotron. It's Rick Wakeman and David Bowie. How could there not be a mellotron?
Yeah, interesting. The mellotron, according to Wikipedia, was played by Mick Ronson.
Well, fuck.
Yeah.
I guess Rick was busy on the piano. So I'm going back. Rick. Shouldn't be hard.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 Micks, too, because there's Mick Woodmansey on the drums.
Yeah. But they called him Woody.
That's right. It makes things easier. Yeah, it's easy to forget that there's a bass guitar and drums on this. I find the drums on this very good. I don't know how else to say it, but they're good drums, and I like them.
They're interesting. They're kind of like if you go to the chorus or in the chorus, they're like kind of doing like a drum roll on the snare, and then like they'll stop for a second or.
Yeah, it's just a good sense of weight to the hits, good use of drum rolls. It's it's good stuff. Like you mentioned, in the second verse, we get that mellotron coming in with the Wikipedia called it a recorder sound, but something in that woodwind section.
Yeah, kind of like I think it's like a higher flute sound. There's 3 sounds in a mellotron, I think. I'm pretty sure one of them is flute.
Well, I'll take your word for it. And then after the second chorus, we get the guitar does a quick little riff, and then the big sweeping fall on the strings.
Oh yeah, love that part. That's
which
good stuff.
then becomes this big finish, and then we get the tom drums getting smacked around.
Oh yeah, bump, bump. Kind of, it's like cinematic at that point, It feels like a movie.
Cinematic orchestral finish, and then after that, the piano comes back and remains.
Yes, there's a little piano coda, I guess you'd call it, and it plays kind of the end of the chorus part, that dun 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 dun, dun where it's playing repeated chords.
Now I've never thought of that, but yeah, that cinematic finish, there really is that sense of entering the movie with this girl. We're going through the same experience because the instruments lift, and then once you get that finish, it's like done. That's the finish, but then we come back to reality, which is that piano, which has been there since the start. Yeah, I like that. Anything else to say on the instrumentation, Alex?
No, I don't think so. It's let's talk fairly simple.
Yeah,
really, like in terms of the parts, but I think they do a lot with it.
Yeah,
and
at this
point,
they
they're
come
still
together
like,
so well.
I think, like David Bowie got dropped from his label, I think, after The Man Who Sold the World. I'm trying to remember the
these
exact
aren't good
timeline.
times
so,
for David Bowie.
He needed like a hit, and it took him a bit before he hit Ziggy Stardust times. So this was like kind of low point for them. So I don't know what their resources were, but they were apparently able to do quite a bit with whatever they had.
Yeah, and it's just phenomenal stuff. Now, we should talk briefly about the music video, which very simple. It was shot by what is his name? Is it another Mick?
I forgot to actually check.
It's like I believe it's Mick Rock who shot it, known as the man who shot the 70s, because he
did a lot of rock and roll photography And
Yes, Mick
filming?
Rock, the man who shot the 70s. So yeah, big ones being David Bowie, and then you can kind of play like 6 Degrees of Separation for most of them. It's like Iggy Pop, Lou Reed,
Right.
Queen.
Right.
And then he's done other ones like was it Motley Crue or was it Motorhead? But yeah, so he's shot a lot. This music video was filmed at backstage at Earl's Court in a year.
Yeah, it was also notably a few years after the album came out, because after Ziggy Stardust happened and David Bowie became more popular, they re-released it as a single. They released Life on Mars as a single, and they made a music video to go along with it. And that's what this is. He's got his Ziggy Stardust red mullet going on, and he has his his powder blue suit
that
he wears in, I think, pinups.
Yeah.
In like the inner sleeve of pinups.
That may be correct.
I don't actually have a physical copy of pinups to check.
I do, but it's not anywhere near me, as we've discussed.
As we've discussed. I think I've definitely seen it elsewhere. I think that's where.
I think it might be on a Bowie live album too.
Oh, maybe.
Or at least one similar to it. But yeah, so like it's David Bowie on a white background. He's got his Ziggy Stardust mullet, this powder blue suit, and sort of like clown-ish makeup. You know, he looks very alien, which is classic David Bowie. And the music video is essentially just different shots of him in this white space. Sometimes he's doing little actions like kicking the ground. Sometimes he's singing right at you.
I googled this,
but it is very much just like a 4-minute promo reel.
Yeah, it's just like
David
very
Bowie looks
like light. It's like very exposed, and he sings the song.
Yeah, perhaps the most interesting part is right at the end where he mimes playing the piano, doing that little ending bit.
Oh yeah.
You can't see it on YouTube that well because they covered up with the
links.
Next video.
Yeah, I see it now. I googled the suit, and this article refers to it as the Life on Mars suit, but also says that it was featured in the music video for Life on Mars from the album Heroes in May 1973. So that's not accurate.
That's not fully correct. Well,
but anyway, back to
the fourth
more important things.
More important thing. This is the fourth music video of David Bowie's. I don't know what the first three were. But yeah, they reshot it not reshot it, but Mick Rock had enough footage that I think he's made 3 different versions of it over the years.
And they're all just very similar?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I haven't seen. I'm assuming I'm seeing the original here on
it's
YouTube, but
David Bowie's YouTube channel.
Yeah,
or the official David Bowie YouTube channel, I should say.
Yeah, so I'm looking around here. It doesn't seem like they're putting all the other ones out there, but yeah. So that's the music video. It's neat. It's more if you see the start of it and you're like, it's David Bowie. Look at his getup. It's like you've seen it all. You got it. It's a striking look, but beyond that, not much to say about the music video.
I certainly don't have much to say.
And with that, we're going to talk about the cover versions, Alex, starting in the year 1996 with the Flaming Lips.
This is an interesting version. We know the Flaming Lips. They're a band.
They're a band, a rock band. We
talked about them. We talked about Do You Realize? I think we've talked about a couple things they've covered.
Yeah, their Kylie Minogue cover.
That's right.
And I think another one that they've done.
I'm blanking.
Probably.
But we have talked about the Flaming Lips before.
Yeah.
They are considered, what is it?
Like psychedelic
new
rock?
Psychedelic, but it's not new. Yeah. It's like some other word for new.
Okay, so is it
neo-psychedelia? That's what it is.
That's it. That's the one.
This is 1996, so like I think right before their like more popular albums that kind of cemented their style.
Yeah, if this album's any indication, this is around the time of the album Clouds Taste Metallic.
Right. Oh, right. Yes. But
so yeah, 1996.
Before the Soft Bulletin, I want to say.
I would believe that. I'm
I
doing a
don't
little
remember the
scrolling right
years.
now. The Soft Bulletin, as we all know, was made in the year 1999. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is just
Okay.
before they started getting closer to their more modern sound.
Yeah. So this is like super lo-fi. This is like very scratchy.
Yeah. I have to believe that this is influenced by Daniel Johnston.
Interesting.
The vocal presentation, like the way those
The
are sung.
way he sings?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Daniel Johnston.
I suppose. It is very lo-fi. That's what I got
Well, yeah,
out of it.
they obviously they're using higher processing to make this lo-fi effect.
Yeah.
But if you want to talk about lo-fi artists, Daniel Johnston records on a cassette player is
True.
pretty fucking high up
Yeah.
there.
It kind of sounds
And
like it was recorded on a cassette player, and then they just kind of fucked with the tape for a while. And
yeah,
it's very filtered. You lose a lot of low frequency stuff. Although sometimes the drums are like, they seem to leave some of the low end in for the actual bass stuff. But like the vocals and the guitar are all like super duper high frequency, with the low
Well,
stuff
yeah.
cut out.
Yeah, everything sounds like it's, coming through to you on a broken ham radio.
Yes, absolutely. It's that, yeah, like AM kind of thing. Like it's been messed with. There's what do they actually do in this song? They got like it has like strumming kind of throughout. On, again, very filtered guitar. They do like kind of backup vocals for these low bow.
Yeah, almost like a
on the
Zelda dungeon.
pre-chorus. Yeah, like a Zelda dungeon, and it's kind of low quality. So probably a Zelda dungeon from around this actual time period.
Yeah, it makes me think. I want to say Spirit Temple. I could be wrong on that.
Probably. I think they removed some chanting from the Fire Temple. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
That's just game trivia. That's not
just some game trivia. But yeah, it's this big dome.
Yeah, kind of
playing the role that the big strings play at the beginning of the song.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the vocals do get lost because they are so distorted.
Yeah, everything really melds together. Because I mean, I think they've just cut out so many frequencies. There's only so much range that the sounds that are there can occupy. So they have to occupy the same space. So by the time you get kind of end of the pre-chorus, beginning of the chorus, like you can barely make out some of the lead vocals because it's just got this really like scratchy thing going.
Yeah. And then sometimes there's what sounds like a very high strung something just going like tick 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 tick.
Is that in the chorus?
It might be. It comes in like a couple times. It might be more in the verses.
Okay, because there is like kind of a weird like high pitch, obviously high pitch, like kind of.
Oh yeah, kind of like I always call it like an airplane noise where it's like.
Yeah. Okay. I said it's like a shining sound effect. Like if you see something that's glowing in a movie, like the sound it would be making, that kind of like glassy, shiny sound, but super filtered. That's what I'm hearing.
Maybe we're talking about two different sounds.
Maybe we are talking about two different sounds.
That's sort of the nature of this song.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to parse because there's a lot kind of in a small frequency range.
Yeah, but I think this is a smart move on the Flaming Lips part, is you weren't gonna, go toe to toe with the David Bowie version by playing it straight.
Changed it a lot. I don't know when sort of lo-fi styled music became more popular. I don't know if this was kind of the beginning of that. It's kind of like they're just kind of playing with a trend, or maybe taking a trend to like a logical extreme, sort of.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, it's making me remember the other time we talked about them was Getting Better by the Beatles.
That's right.
And that was sort of in this vein, probably a little more refined because it's a much later cover of theirs.
Yeah, more palatable. Like, this is at times, like, actually painful to listen to. I turned it down
Yeah.
because I was worried about my ears.
Yeah, that is 100% fair. Now that strained noise I was talking about 155, you can hear it.
So that would be in a verse. I said,
Yeah.
fortunately, having just glanced over my notes and noticed that a verse started around that time.
Yeah, so like 154, it comes in.
Yes.
Ding, ding,
It's
ding,
like
ding.
a very high pitched, like, pluck. So it sounds like kind of like a detuned string just being ding, 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 plucked or something. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
It sounds like a loose string, sort of like you just tuned your guitar down.
Right, and you're just kind of like making whatever noise it makes then.
Yeah, it's not really a note per se.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I get out of it anyway.
Yeah, I would agree to that. From there, it just kind of like peters out near the end there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big cymbal crash. They do that run on the guitar.
That's right.
And then there's a big cymbal crash, and it sort of fades. I think.
Yeah. And then you're out.
Yeah, it's just because there's so many sounds, it just becomes. Yeah. I didn't actually finish a thought there. I guess I didn't have.
No, you said yeah, so it's done.
So it's done. Yeah,
that's a done thought.
That's a full thought.
Yeah, it is like it's cacophonous. It's strange. I honestly would have loved for them to just go straight Daniel Johnston on it. I think there might have been something in that.
Yeah. To me, like I said before, it almost seems like a comment on this style of music, but maybe they're just messing around. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they are big Bowie fans.
True.
They've done a few covers. They covered the Christmas one, Little Drummer Boy / Peace on Earth.
I saw them play Space Oddity live.
That's right.
I don't know if they've recorded it. He was wearing like a red outfit that looked Bowie-like.
Bowie-esque.
Trying to remember the specific outfit.
Yeah, so like, and the Flaming Lips, from the covers I've seen them do, they don't seem to come at it with a tongue-in-cheek approach. They seem to be very genuine in that they're like, we like this musician, we like this song.
You're right. That is true.
But hey, maybe they are. Maybe it's just going over my head.
In any case, I don't know if this is not a super palatable song.
Yeah.
This is not like one you listen to for pleasant sounds. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're not like, I'm going to fucking throw this on. That also said, we've listened to some really ugly, gross covers that try this sort of like cacophony approach with much worse results.
Sure. I believe that.
I believe that because I've seen it. So yeah, it stands out as like a bizarre cover. There's nothing else that's going to sound like it on this playlist. It's not the best Flaming Lips, and it's not better than the original, but it is pretty interesting. What a conclusion. That's what people come to this podcast for, to find out if a cover is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, you don't need to listen to our recommendations. Just listen to the songs. It doesn't take that long.
It doesn't take that long.
In fact, it takes much less time than listening to this podcast.
Fuck, we just undone ourselves.
Oh,
it's only the start of the year. Alex, move forward quick. 1996, Caecille, Norby.
Yeah.
It's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair, for the mommy is yelling no, and a daddy is...
This is the jazzy version.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
She's a Danish jazz and rock singer. She used to do jazz rock, but then went solo and full jazz.
Apparently, she won Best Recording Album in Japan in 1996, so cool.
Cool. Is that for this album?
Oh, maybe. I didn't, for some reason, notice that they were the same year. It does have a David Bowie song on it, and apparently Japan kind of likes David Bowie. Sometimes.
That's right.
Like, he has some appeal in Japan. I don't know how much.
Yeah. Okay, Alex, the one thing we got to talk about before we talk about anything at this, go to 15 seconds. 15? Does she say parlor friend?
What a friend. Yeah, just kind of like the B kind of becomes a P, and
Okay, it's just a Danish thing.
yeah,
All
I
right.
think it's just an accent thing.
Yeah, this one's very sparse. You got a stand-up bass doing some little bass arpeggios. She comes in
Yeah.
singing.
And like with just the bass for
Yeah.
the first bit. So it's kind of just doing that like harmony. And then her and bass.
Yeah, hand drumming comes in for the chorus. And of course, things are a little more active there. The bass moves around a little more. It's very slow in the intro. She puts like a little more oomph into her vocals. Then a horned instrument comes in for the bridge to the next
I
verse.
think it's a trumpet.
I put down trumpet. I never have confidence in these things.
I'm gonna say trumpet. Seems
I will stick
believable.
with it,
Like
then.
it comes in like with a trill.
Yeah.
And like so they basically do a trumpet solo instead of a guitar solo.
Yeah. And then like the trumpet sticks around for the second verse.
Yes. Real quick note on the chorus. Several of the versions kind of don't go for the like bigness of the Life on Mars line, which is probably difficult to sing for one.
Sure.
But also like that's a lot to go for, and this one really tries to keep it low energy, so it doesn't have the dynamics that you get from the original. Because it keeps it low
sang
key.
all jazzy. Is their life on Mars?
Yeah, Life on Mars. So it's not. There's no jump. And that's a big move. So I see why you wouldn't necessarily want to do the same thing, because it just feel like an imitation.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone really finds something else to do to replace it with.
Oh yeah, that thing like is the money of
Yeah.
the song, and so when you lose it.
Yeah, especially you lose that dynamic range of the song.
Yeah, and that's what this version is lacking in particular, is it is sparse, and then the instruments it adds doesn't really give it much energy.
Yeah, they don't
It's just-
feel as like together as I think in the original. Like the different parts all feel like they blend very well. But this, they feel more separate to me.
Yeah, it's the
If that
difference
makes any
between
sense.
like living in the same house together and then like having a party in the same house, right? Like you're all in
Right.
the same house, technically you're all doing things, but
Together, alone.
alone, as like the famous Bob Dylan song.
Yes.
Yeah, this one was boring as shit for me. Not a surprise. I'm not a big jazz head.
Yeah, it's just a very low key version that doesn't really try to bring it up at all, which is fine, but
Oh, yeah, it's all technically fine. I think her voice is good. She sounds like a good jazz singer to me.
doesn't have much of like a I struggle to think of another word to say other than hook.
Hook. Yeah, there's nothing that is like, here, stick around.
Yeah.
Whereas in the original, when you hear Life on Mars, like, oh fuck, well, I gotta stick around for more of this.
Stick around. I guess that is kind of the hook of the song, isn't it?
Yeah.
The big vocal jump.
It's
one thing
really
I thought about this one is it was a little weird that they just kind of like follow the song harmonically and melodically for the most part, but they didn't really incorporate any of the sort of unique aspects, defining aspects of the original song. I always like it when covers, when they do change a lot, they'll like somehow adapt or throw in a little something that kind of references the original. I didn't really get any of that in this version.
Yeah, there's no musical phrase that is like, oh, and this is the trumpet doing the string pattern or anything like
or
that. Like,
something.
that doesn't really come
just
up.
something small. You don't have to like copy the whole thing. You could change it a lot, but then you throw in a little something. And you're like, oh,
yeah.
I
We've
remember
had it
the
in covers
original
before. Well, they'll do bits from not only the song they're covering, but other stuff from the person's catalog they'll throw in. And they're like, you're like, oh, this person's a fan. Like
references. I love references. Which is not totally necessary, but I felt like this one needed a little spicing up, a little more identity, and something like that I think would be beneficial.
Yeah, and that's why this version also managed to have the only music video that could possibly be more boring than the David Bowie version.
I didn't even look up a music video. I was like, why would this have a music video?
I just happened to come up because I don't know why I looked for it, but I did, and it's her literally sitting on a stage, and on that same stage is the stand-up bassist, and then sometimes it's close-ups of her face, sometimes it's close-up of the bassist playing, sometimes it's just a wide shot of them on the stage. It's got like your sepia filter on it, and that's it.
She sings at the camera. She's sitting on a thing. They're in a room with lights. Just you don't even see the trumpet player. Where's the trumpet player?
Where's the trumpet? Yeah, like give us some of that. So so it's just falls flat. It's technically fine. Like nobody's gonna look at this and be like, "Hey, you're a bad singer. Oh, you don't know how to play the bass." But it's in terms of making a compelling cover, it leaves a lot to be desired.
Agreed.
Speaking of people who are British, that's my segue. Seal in 2009.
It's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair, but her mummy is yelling no.
Did you know Seal is British, Alex?
I did after I looked him up for this.
Yeah, I know, right? I think since I associate him with Kiss from a Rose and obviously the Batman film,
obviously,
that like I was like, oh, that's very American. Like he's an American.
But no, he's not.
No,
this is
British.
Like this seems to be just kind of an outtake.
Yes.
It's in fact titled "Life on Mars Uncut" by Seal. It's off of an album of apparently the Rare collection. So it's mostly that kind of stuff. Cover of Wind Cries Mary, cover of Hey Joe.
He's got Banjo-Kazooie on there. There's Perfect Dark.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a lot of like covers. And I don't know, this is just like it's just acoustic. It's
a god-awful small affair.
He
sounds a little British
like
here
Daniel
too.
Johnston. Yeah, he sounds a little British.
Which I don't know much about Seal.
No, he doesn't even sound like the dude from Kiss from a Rose on this.
Interesting. This is, like you said, acoustic guitar. He also says Ibiza. I wanted to mention that because not everybody does.
Yeah, we get some actually what I would call critical in that I think they're bad line changes here. The first one being as she walks to the silver screen.
Yeah, I think part of this one is like they mentioned it says uncut. I think he just kind of fucked up.
Right, they just did it in one take.
And like then eventually they were like, let's not put this on the album or whatever. Like maybe he was just warming up or something, and he didn't have all the lyrics right. So I don't think this version was ever really meant to be released.
And yet I'm hearing it now, Alex.
And yet we're hearing it now, so
such.
So I think that's the explanation, is all. But yes, she already walked through a sunken dream
to the seat,
and then just walks to the silver screen
to the screen from there, and just presses herself against it.
And
and then the other one, which is technically fine, but we lose the spirit of the line. The film is a saddening bore, for she's watched it 10 times or more.
Yeah, because that's not really what happened.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I can tell, she's not watching the same movie over and over again, literally. But
although possibly literally is like
maybe.
It could be literal, it could be figurative, it could be both, similar to the Lennon line, similar to the other parts of it. Like I don't know, but yeah, I think the figurative interpretation provides more value overall.
Yeah,
which is in the words she's lived it.
I think so.
And so yeah, that we lose that spirit here. There's somebody else who fucks up some lines in a similar way, which I think takes away some weight from the song. There's not a lot else to say in this one.
Yeah, not really. Overall, I think he sounds pretty good.
Yeah, he's
sings pretty well. The guitar is like solid. There's a few times I feel like I was saying before, like there's some kind of mistakes or imperfections that if they had really gone for it would have been probably ironed out. But like when he plays in particular, like the transitions between the chorus and the verse is like not some of the runs are like not quite right. Like they're a little flat sounding. But that's the kind of thing that like if this was on an album would be fine, would be fixed.
That's right. So yeah, it's just like a fun novelty. Just threw it on because I saw Seal on there. I was gonna take it off, then I just didn't. Like,
there's like not much to say about it.
Man.
And yet here we are. talking about.
Here we are talking about it at length. Alex, we're going to talk about a Japanese rock duo who also covered this song in the same year. That's Vamps.
Vamps.
It's a colorful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair. But her mommy is yelling no, and her daddy has to.
Vamps.
They are, like you said, Japanese. It's mostly two guys, apparently.
Yeah.
Cass and Hyde.
That's right.
They seem to have like a kind of emo gothic thing going on.
Yeah, that
visually.
like that mid 2000s alt rock vibe for sure. These guys hanging out with
Spiky
Good
hair.
Charlotte and My Chemical Romance.
Hair's got colors, multiple colors, probably black and red. This is more in like the hard rock vein.
Yeah. Very moody.
Moody. Yeah.
Moody and like spooky.
Yeah.
We start with like audience noises or something, like a buzzing, really, some like low thrumming.
Yeah, it sounds like that
And then-
ambient kind of sounds.
Yeah, and then like a spooky guitar arpeggio, a lot of like echo on it. It's very harsh.
Yeah, it's got that like kind of dark echo that we've talked about a couple times in the last little while. Like we talked about.
Yeah.
Sisters of Mercy, the band, not the song. That kind of stuff. Kind of sound. Dark.
Yeah, and then you got the singing coming in. He's like, it's a god-awful small affair. He's very dark and
also
mysterious.
singing in English, obviously.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember. One of the band members is like kind of known for performing in English and not Japanese.
Okay.
Which
Well, yeah, they did like gain like international traction pretty quickly. They formed in 2008. I think in 2009 or 2010 they did their first international tour.
which is around this time.
Yeah.
There you go. What else is in this song? They kind of got some like droning. There's some like deep droning going on.
Yeah.
Don't know what it is. Could be like a guitar or a synthesizer. Yeah.
Yeah, and it sounds like a synth or something that comes in on the chorus with a little sparse actions. Da-na-na, da-na-na.
Yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff. I mean, it's kind of 2009, so it has a bit of that like production sound to it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
The Edge.
Yeah, The Edge. Of course, The Edge. The only guitar player that exists.
And in some
anymore.
ways, I don't know if it's just the use of that synth. It kind of draws on like I would say like reality era Bowie. Some of that where I think he was also playing with the same
Interesting.
sort of rock and roll elements. So I might just be noting that these came out in similar times, but
I'll admit I didn't notice that.
well,
But
I might just be
I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, because
you could
why would I?
for controversy's sake, gets the people going.
Oh, are we going to fight about it? You're wrong.
We'll leave it now. We'll let it simmer. Then
Yeah, okay.
3 episodes down the line, I'll bring it up.
And then we'll fight.
That's right.
Sweet. So I got some other stuff like in their transition they do like the fade out and then have like an explosion effect when they come back in.
That's right. Yeah, they like pull all the
yeah,
audio out
let's get
and then
into
they
the
punch it back
pre-chorus.
in real quick.
And then start to get into the more like heavier guitars.
Yeah,
For that like
Big
hard
power
rock
chord
sound.
energy.
I noticed in the pre-chorus like they'll mute the guitar in the first half, but then they ring it out in the second half, sort of for their build. And then the transition into the chorus is kind of neat because they do like I think they're triplets. Like they change up the strumming rhythm and kind of strum really hard, just for the transition. Then go back to normal. And then I get that. That synth I think you were talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that synth and also some other ways reminds me of the film Labyrinth.
Oh.
It is a little in
Yeah.
that vein. Yeah.
The end of Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Interesting. Like in the Escher. Did Escher paint the room with the stairs?
Yeah,
Is that
where
an
it's,
Escher
it
painting?
is like an
Yeah.
Escher painting. Yes.
That, like Escher painting room?
Yeah.
It kind of does have that sound to it. I didn't think of
little
that.
bit. And like you said, Bowie is big-ish in Japan.
Yeah?
has some extra fondness there. So maybe like, I mean, obviously they're covering Life on Mars, like they're Bowie fans, but
Yeah?
like everybody's a Bowie fan when you get down to it. Like everybody would be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I like this one Bowie song." Like, yeah,
Yeah, of course you like that one Bowie song. It's a good song.
it's a good song.
So
but yeah,
I don't know.
to
I'm
the
being so aggressive
extent of
about
their
this.
knowledge and what their Bowie touch points are, I don't know. But there does seem to be a
it
little
does
bit of
have a
that
feeling
that labyrinth energy.
Huh. I like it. And then they do some like synth transition, like ba ba ba, like it's different, but kind of like a similar idea in that it brings it down eventually. But kind of ramps up the tension for I think a little longer than the solo. Not much longer actually, because
Yeah.
it's still 4 minutes long.
That's right. Well, in their second verse, they ramp up the tension with these big heavy drums. Around 2:11, they just start going.
The
Dun,
drums.
dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun,
they've
dun.
got some like I think the drums seem to be like a drum machine.
That would be
At
my
least
understanding
some
of it.
them, but they do have that sound. And then come in heavier there. And I didn't notice a lot more changes for the second go round.
Yeah, it's pretty straight. And these guys do they go sailors full on, fighting in the dance hall. Like, they put a lot of energy into the chorus.
They do. They've got the big rock energy sound. Which they do a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, it's definitely like you said, it's a more hard rock energy, but I think they set it up pretty reasonably well.
Yeah, I don't know. I found it. I didn't get into this one. I'm not exactly sure why. I didn't dislike it. I'm not sure. Maybe I was just tired.
It could be, yeah. Sometimes you just hit it at the wrong time.
That happens.
Yeah, I think maybe just because I was seeing other Bowie elements in there, like possible inspirations. Like you said, that was lacking from the Caecille Norby version.
Yes.
And this one seemed
absolutely.
to have it, so maybe my mind's just glomming onto that and being like, this is pretty cool.
Maybe. I mean, this one certainly has more to keep you interested than that version. So.
Yeah, it's got a sense of dynamics. It's fairly, it's not like baffling new dynamics. It's pretty traditional hard rock.
Right.
But having those is good. It's better than none.
For sure.
Yeah, and he he tries to sing big. I think he sounds fine. I thought this one was pretty fun. I not something I expected. A lot of these other ones are like, oh, okay, yeah, like you got your soft jazz version. Like, I mean, the Flaming Lips is also unexpected, but them covering it is pretty expected.
Right.
The next one we're going to talk about is, she's listed as like 6 different kinds of pop covering it. Like, yeah, that makes sense to me. This one is a little more like,
right.
I would not be my first idea of who would cover this and how they
Right.
would cover
And it's
it.
something like we don't know Vamps. We don't know Japanese rock and roll.
And yeah, I actually could have done a better job of putting in more foreign language covers, of which there is a few.
There
of
are.
course, probably the most popular of which is Sue George, or like the most well-known, who does it for The Life Aquatic.
Right. Which is probably the only one I was familiar with at the time. The only cover.
And that one is good, and I'll say it probably better than the Seal version, as far as acoustic covers go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the one I'd rather go back to than the Seal version for sure.
Yeah. And I feel bad that I didn't put it on. I was going to ask if we should put it on, and I was like, no, we'll just talk about it, because I in terms of content, would have been like, yeah, we both like this, and then we would have moved on with life.
It's true. Although that happens sometimes.
That's
And
true.
I still haven't seen that movie.
I still haven't either, and it is something I would like to do with my life, is watch that. But first, we're going to talk about Aurora in 2016.
Aurora.
It's a god-awful small affair to the guy with the mousy hair, but her mom is yelling.
All caps, the mononymous Norwegian singer-songwriter and record
Yes.
producer.
Compared to Lord, from what I saw,
Yeah,
kind
Christ,
of
who is
also.
Lord.
Yes, exactly. Compared to the singer Lord, who actually has also covered this at least live
Right.
at the Brit Awards back in 2016 as a tribute to David Bowie.
Of course.
She played with David Bowie's backing band. But this is not that.
This is not that.
This is Norwegian. This isn't
Norwegian.
New Zealand dick.
New Zealand dick. The
New Zealandic.
Antipodes. Yes. This one is a lot of warm piano. Is electric piano on this? Electronic
Yes.
piano? You want to talk about dynamics? Don't talk about this song because
Nope.
not a lot.
Nope. It's definitely like, I think, really trying to go for the isolation feeling because it's just the EP, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And her singing. And I think it does a pretty good job of feeling like stark and isolated. And I think part of that, there's a little bit of echo. So it sounds like she's in a room that's like a little bit bigger than it needs to be for just her. And I think that helps with the isolation feeling.
Right. Now, I will note that I think something that may be factoring into the composition of this overall is the compilation it's on, which is Girls Volume 3, music from the HBO original series.
Right, it's background music.
It's made for TV vibes, where they really kind of boil songs down to one note and push that to color the scenes, whatever collection of scenes they're showing, presumably at the end of the episode.
Right. Or like when someone is sad and feeling isolated or something.
Yeah, you would do it to midpoint. It's low. But it's so I don't know if it was built specifically for this show or if it was just tailored to it after the fact. They're like, hey, this sounds like what we want, but it does have a bit of that for TV feel that we've talked about on a lot of covers.
Right. I don't have a whole lot to say about this because it's mostly just that, her singing and the electric piano.
Yeah.
The way she sings is a lot of, like, instead of jumping around, she'll stick with the previous note or one in between, sort of, and then do a run to the note, like, fairly quickly. Her daddy has told her to go, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. See the mice. Yeah, I'm hearing it.
Yeah. So that's what I noticed about that. And she does that on Mars as well. Like, instead of a jump to Mars, she slowly moves up.
Yeah, she does it like a staircase. It's
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, it is on the series Girls. So I wonder, the second verse, or the second pre-chorus, rather. Pre-chorus? Jeez. Yes. Doesn't switch to I wrote it. It sticks with she wrote it. I don't know if that's to fit with that better or what, but it's something that she does.
Yeah. She says seen it 10 times or more instead of lived it 10 times or more, which again, not as good.
Same thing. But yes, like you're saying, I think it like captures that isolation aspect of it reasonably well.
Yeah. I think it's functional, and for its purpose it probably served it well. It is a whole minute longer than the original.
Yeah, I forgot to note why. Maybe is it just slow?
It's just slow.
Yeah. The original's not fast. Anyway,
no.
Doesn't matter.
This one is slow. And she repeats the title line, that's the finish. It kind of just hangs on that.
She does it and she resolves instead. She kind of goes back down on Mars.
On Mars.
On Morse. On her second repetition. Yeah.
Yeah, with that, we're going to talk about the final cover of this week, which is 8-Bit Arcade in 2019.
Now, I'm pretty sure we've talked about 8-bit arcade before, but I can't
You
remember
would think, right?
what for.
Or if it was like 8-bit players or 8-bit
Yeah.
fucking jabronis.
So I don't remember. I was like scrolling through their stuff, but they have a lot, including a cover of Ain't No Sunshine, which we did not talk about.
That's right. Good for us for not doing that.
Anyway, I'm scrolling through these, and I don't know if we talked about them.
I don't know. Here's what I can tell you, Alex. You
Possible.
know, and it's a trend more in older games like NES era, maybe some Super Nintendo, where the opening cutscene of the game will lead to the title of the game. So it'll be like Final Fantasy does
Right.
it, where they do a wall scroll.
It's like
Before.
before the opening. Yeah.
Yeah. This is where I think this version of Life on Mars would fit.
Would fit the best.
Yeah,
I
because
can
you
see
get
that.
it starts out low and then it gets big when you hit the title, and that's when the chorus hits as well.
And it would be like Life on Mars? Hit start to
Yeah, you'd be
continue.
like, oh shit.
Yeah, I can see that. It uses really like big chords, so I don't think there's any 8-bit hardware that would actually play this. Too
Yeah,
many
that's-
channels, which is
Probably
always true of these, or almost always true of these. And that's not a knock against it. That's just something I like to mention for some reason.
Yeah.
So we call it 9-bit. Not actually.
That's right. 9-bit.
So the thing about this one, what does this one do? This one builds pretty well, and it does it by like continually upping the harmony. So as it progresses, first, in the verse through the pre-chorus and into the chorus, it like builds bigger and bigger chords basically, and that's kind of how it operates.
Yeah.
They're really big on the Mars line, obviously, and then kind of drop back down again. Then some drums come in as well in that chorus.
Yeah, they've got a really good. I like the tone on the drums. Dunk.
Yeah, that like old school rhythm, old school 8-bit rhythm thing.
Yeah. And obviously it's very faithful to the original in that you do get every component
Yes.
represented in 8-bit style here.
Yeah. And but within that, they do play around a little bit, I think. One, like I mentioned, with the harmony building.
Right.
So it's still following the original harmonies, but it's sort of like chords are getting bigger and bigger. And then in the second half, they add in arpeggios as well. But the solo part is, I think, a little bit detuned. The guitar solo part, which I think is a cool sound.
Yeah.
Because it's like a little bit different, especially if you're fairly familiar with it. It sounds a little flat. And then kind of evokes like hardware failure, kind of, or like something fucked up, but in like a measured way. It doesn't sound like a mistake, but it sounds like, oh, that's not quite right. Something's wrong.
That's that's very good. And it's like you've been mentioning a few little things they did. It seems like they're very smartly like used 8-bit language and like the 8-bit limitations to actually build a version of this. Whereas, a lot of people would just be like, change this to this sound, change this to that, boom, 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 it's done.
Yeah, and we talk about this all the time, especially in these 8-bit versions, but with a lot of instrumental versions, it's tough if you just do the song and you just end up kind of playing the same thing twice. It's not that interesting to just do that. So if you add these little things, and then you build interest, and that's very important for these types of versions.
Yeah, so I think they've done like even the mellotron that comes in on the second verse. I think that sound translates over very well. I think that's been a brilliant translation and then like modification through 8-bit techniques to build interest. I think this one's very solid. Honestly, I was pretty impressed.
Yeah, I'm it was last, and I was about to like write it off, and I was like, this won't take long. It's just an 8-bit version. I'm gonna watch some YouTube videos, and then I came back to it, and I was like, oh no, I gotta actually pay attention.
Yeah, like there's actually things going on, and it's pretty cool. Only thing I would recommend for these guys is maybe get a different name than 8-bit arcade, just for
it's too generic
marketing
sounding.
purposes. Yeah.
But they also have like a ton of stuff, so this could just be they're purveyors of 8-bit music rather than referencing sounds. They remain true to the craft. I don't know. You never know with these guys. Like, it could just be churned out, but
Could be, yeah. Like
But
if these
at
guys
the very
keep coming
least,
up, we
this
might
version
notice.
in a vacuum, maybe they do the same thing on other songs, I don't know. But this version in a vacuum, pretty solid.
Pretty solid. And with that, we're going to get into our final verdicts. We got 3 categories today: the worst version, the best version, and the version you would send to the Martians if they existed, or, if they were able to process our music.
Right. Or something.
Or if there's life
Any
on
form
Mars,
of communication. Is there life on Mars?
We don't know. Nobody knows. It's impossible to know. Alex, what's the worst version of this?
Oh, what is the worst version of this? The one Caecille or not Cecily, is it?
It
Caecille?
might be. I honestly don't know the
Nor-
pronunciation of it.
Norby?
Norby.
Yeah.
Mrs. Norby.
It was really, of all of them, the one that didn't really have anything interesting going for it, and didn't have the excuse of the Seal one of, like, he just kind of recorded it.
Right.
So
This is another example of, like, a Hindu love god scenario, whereas, like, Seal's
Yeah.
half-assed effort is, on account of him being Seal, is better
Yeah,
than
and-
somebody putting in the effort.
And like we know, it was kind of not necessarily a grade effort because it's considered just like a rarity. So
Mm-hmm.
the other version is trying to put its A grade effort in. Also, second thing to note, it is the only one on Spotify other than the original that includes the question mark in Life on Mars. So it gets a point for that. Seal does.
It does get that. I gotta agree with you. Norby's got the worst version of this. It was, I think, the only one where I fully, like, my brain shut off, which happens with a lot of jazz. But it's just
Yeah.
like, and then I wake up and the song's over. Like, oh shit, what happened?
Yeah, where's that far out exciting jazz?
That's what I'm looking for, is far out exciting jazz. Alex, what is the most far out exciting version we talked about today?
I'm struggling.
Otherwise known as the best version.
What is the best version? I'm struggling a little bit. I just love the original so much,
It's hard to.
And there
to
were
hold a
there
candle
were
to
definitely
that.
a couple standouts. Like we were pretty, I think, obvious about which ones are contenders.
Mm-hmm.
But which one? I'm trying to think. Like which one pulls ahead? Do you have one that pulls ahead for you?
It's tough. It's like, really, I think for me, it's down to 8-Bit Arcade and Vamps. And I think they both do an interesting job of different things. If there was one, this is how I guess I gotta frame it. If there's one that I would be like, dude, come listen to this. But that would change from person to person too.
Who you're talking
It's
about?
gotta be. I'm usually not this indecisive. Usually I can just knock it out. I'm gonna give it to Vamps. I liked my hallucinations of other Bowie references that I was seeing. It was an unexpected genre to kind of take it into, and actually like do some solid work. I'm never gonna listen to it over the Bowie version. If it comes on, I'll smile though and nod and be like, hey, yeah, Vamps. I remember these guys.
Vamps. This is the Japanese band. They're like, we know they have
Yeah.
Japanese accents. Anyway, yeah. I mean, I think I feel similarly, but now that I'm going through them, I think I've got to give it to 8-Bit Arcade, because like of the standout ones, that's probably the one I enjoyed the most, and like the Flaming Lips was interesting, but hard to recommend,
Yeah.
and like hard
Unless
even
you're a
to
Flaming
myself.
Lips fan.
Like,
Yeah.
like, oh, you like the Flaming Lips? You ever heard? Yeah, you ever heard this?
Yeah, and if you want to start like diving through rarities and interesting novelties, then you go like, yeah, check out their Life on Mars cover. It's a bit weird. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know if there is much merit in the Flaming Lips version beyond that. Yeah, I agree. 8-Bit Arcade is, and may truly be the best choice, but I haven't given it to them. Cause it seems to validate to me the genre of 8-Bit covers.
Yeah, the
and that
8-Bit
it actually
covers.
did something.
I feel like we've had a couple like that, because I really was
Mhm.
writing it off, and then now I think, yeah, I don't remember. It might have been Free ZZ Peak, like one of the ones in like our last couple months,
yeah.
or a couple of them. I think have impressed. So way to go, 8-Bit stuff. Way to go for
go.
us to randomly stumble across the right songs.
Hell yeah. It's a
So there
it's a
you go.
process that is pretty much just that, randomly stumbling across. Yeah, with that, Alex, which version are you going to send to the Martians should they exist?
To the Martians. Well, I don't think I could say 8-Bit Arcade for this, because we gotta have some language in there, I think.
Right.
I think we send the Martians something that's interesting, but not something that is like it's got to be representative, I think, as well, right?
Right.
So if it's a cover and we're sending it to the Martians, I think we got to send the Seal version because it's like it's the one that's like it's the song. It's not super out there. It's kind of the and it's not like boring either. Not like I'm
Right. It's
mostly just like
pleasant.
not putting the Caecille Norby version on because I didn't like it. But like in terms of pleasant, it's got to be either like Seal or Aurora, I think. And actually, now that I'm saying Seal or Aurora, I'm gonna stick with Seal. But like we were like, hey, we do this all the time. It's an acoustic cover of a song that wasn't originally acoustic in this way. Like it's a very common thing. If that's information we want to give to the aliens, we're like, look, this is representative of humanity. We do this shit all the time.
We do this shit. Yeah, it is. It's the same shit. We've done it 10 times over. We're gonna continue to do it. It's also what the song's about. Here's the Seal cover. That's a good. I think that's the safe choice. If you were working in a government body and they're like, we have to send out a cover version of Life on Mars, that you would be like, put Seal out there. He's one of the best we got. He's a good guy. If you're going high risk, high reward, which your boy is, you're gonna put the Flaming Lips out there.
Oh yeah. So you're like, hey aliens, listen to this. They're like, wait, what? These frequencies are too high. Assuming they even hear the same frequencies.
Yeah, exactly. And depending on how they communicate, like the words might not be what tell them things. There might be messages in there that we don't know.
Yeah, you're gonna start like an intergalactic war.
Yeah, over a Flaming Lips cover.
A Flaming Lips cover. And I'm there for you. I was very supportive of that action.
Hell, and you know what? It's got acoustic guitar in there, similar to your Seal cover. It's got some distortion effects, intentional lo-fi. It's got words in there still, but you got to parse them out. So there's just like more in the package for them to work with.
True.
Whereas like the Seal version comes down to there's a guitar, there's words, and they're sang. So mine's going to be more difficult to parse and potentially have much worse consequences, but also maybe no consequences. Yours is going to be easy to digest, but like give them at least a firm foothold of something that is Earth culture.
Yeah.
That's it. That's our final verdicts. If you guys have some opinions, different, the same, or adjacent, hit us up on Twitter, #CoverMePod, @JakeTheCressy, @SomeAlexWiseGuy. You can email us at covermepod@gmail.com. Tell us about your favorite David Bowie songs. Request one for us to do, and then we'll never do it because it's for this month only, and then we're never talking about Bowie ever
We've
again.
already planned it out. Kind of.
Already planned it out. Ish.
Mostly.
By the time you've heard this, it'll be fully planned out. It's too late. Tell us anyway. Tell us your favorite Bowie songs.
Yeah.
Be sure to rate and review us. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, your favorite podcasting app, my favorite podcasting app, all the favorite podcasting apps. It's now time for a bonus segment in which I'm going to ask Alex a Bowie-related question. Alex, you've seen at least 2 David Bowie films. What's your favorite?
Have I seen it? Let's think. I have seen Labyrinth. I've seen The Man Who Fell to Earth. Yeah, that's 2. I have not seen The Prestige.
Yeah, neither have I.
So
I
this
haven't
is an
seen
easy
Virgin
one though.
Soldiers.
Yes, I haven't seen that. What else is David Bowie in? Other movies. I'm struggling to remember
Merry
what they are.
Christmas. He's in. Hang on, I'm pulling up his filmography.
I'm thinking of Extras, but that's not a movie.
Right, but he was in that.
He was in Extras.
We got Just a Gigolo. We got Christian F.
Something about a vampire also.
Yeah, I think that might be The Hunger.
Huh.
Just looking at titles here. Labyrinth, The Linguini Incident, a classic.
Really?
Yeah. Don't ask me what it's about. I refuse to look any further than that. Omicron, The Nomad Soul, the video game.
Yeah, I started that. Played
Yeah.
till the first song.
Zoolander, of course. Zoolander.
Zoolander,
where he played
yeah,
himself.
he's in
I've seen that.
Zoolander. I guess.
The Prestige.
I guess there's probably other stuff he's played himself in.
The SpongeBob SquarePants episode.
Right, he was in an
It says
episode of
television
SpongeBob
series.
SquarePants.
Yeah. and Twin Peaks: The Return.
Really?
Yeah. Also a Twin Peaks movie, I believe. Twin Peaks: Fire in the City or some shit. Twin
I
Peaks
mean,
Fire Walk with Me.
Fire- it's Labyrinth.
It's got to be Labyrinth,
Like,
right? Of course it is.
Although The Man Who Fell to Earth, definitely worth watching.
Oh, yeah.
You get to see at least 2 dicks in it. So
Hell yeah.
that happens. And for the record, David Bowie and Rip Torn. That is who they
that's
are.
whose dicks
That's
you
whose
see.
dicks you see.
Yeah, you get to see young Rip Torn in that, who's like still old, but like
Yeah.
younger.
So go check that out if you
And you
if
get
you can.
the shot that's the inspiration for the cover art for Low.
True. And the shot that is the cover art for Station to Station,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
because it's like him walking onto that spaceship thing.
Onto that spaceship. So yeah, it is I think in terms of like film value as a film, Labyrinth is more enjoyable.
Yeah, but it's also like I watched it with the roomies last 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a little while ago, and I didn't. Not everybody knew there were Muppets in it going in, so there are Muppets in it.
So was there some upset?
At first, but I think it turned around. But yeah, definitely check out both those movies because they're a good time.
Yeah, that's really all I wanted to do is just talk about some Bowie
Talk about
movies
some
we've
Bowie
seen.
movies.
Maybe said some Bowie resolutions. Gonna have to. I think The Prestige is on Netflix.
I don't know how I have not seen The Prestige.
Yeah, because it's long. It's like 3 hours or some shit.
Is it really?
See,
Who's
you
got
gotta
time
buckle
for that?
in.
I did watch Wonder Woman last night. It's like two
Oh,
and a half
God.
hours long. Didn't really need to be.
It's too fucking long. That's good. That's great. That was our bonus segment. Shout out your favorite Bowie films to us if you've seen any. # Bowie films.
Yeah.
Get in on it.
Did
Include
you
music videos?
Did
if
you
want.
see him in The Elephant Man? Tell us about
The
that.
Elephant Man? Tell us about that.
Not a movie,
Um,
but did they film
Not
it?
a movie.
Maybe, I
but
don't know.
hey, maybe. As we always say on Cover Me, it's on America's tortured brow that Cover Me has grown up a cow.